Now with that, I want to dive a little bit into like Source's specific responsible solar approach and maybe use this opportunity to teach other developers what that looks like. But the question that's been in my mind before, and we shared it a little bit with all of us here prepping for the call, is how does like how much extra cost upfront does this create for a developer? And Lightsource being one of the larger developers in the world, is this something that only you guys can afford this, or can any developer afford this, or should they? What's the investment and then the return cost benefit analysis look like? And how do you guys think about responsible solar when you're thinking about all these aspects?
So from planning construction from a land management standpoint, the best way to do it from a biodiversity and sustainability standpoint is to do a lot of the work up front before construction really begins. And that just so happens to be a lot more cost effective. So particularly if you're going into an area, building in an area that is agriculture and doesn't have anything growing there, it's just, a farm field. Planting your grasses and your vegetation before construction even begins is really helpful from a biodiversity standpoint, because you're much more efficient and the ground is fresh. You can do a great seed mix for a low cost. And then once you go into construction, you're building on established grass. You don't have the issues with, workability and potentially mud and things like that. It's already ready to go. And a lot of our native grasses take several years to establish. So as early as you can, these grasses are growing throughout construction. Conversely, if you wait to do a lot of these measures, planting grass on after construction, the rows between the panels are very narrow and you're having to back in. And it's extremely slow, a couple acres a day versus potentially, 50 acres a day with a tractor is a lot more expensive. So we find it's 3 to 4 times cheaper to do a lot of the upfront vegetation work, which is a huge that is the base for a lot of our biodiversity initiatives, is planting in the ground what you need for your future goals. It's much cheaper to do it up front. It's actually a huge cost saver. Our projects finish earlier. There's much less delays. So it's a little bit unrealized until you get to the end and you haven't done those things. That's when you see how expensive it is. So coming in with knowledge from other industries, I've worked in construction and land management. It makes the most sense, both financially and just land management wise.